What is up, everybody? You are in tune to the Cowboy Cast here at FFSN and definitely Cowboys Global Cast, actually. And we are DC4L. We are Dallas Cowboys for life. You got your hosts right here, my man Tom. Tom, how you doing, bro?
Yo, what's going on, man?
Hey, man,
feeling good, feeling fresh.
I noticed you changed your Twitter handle. Tell everybody your Twitter handle, your new Twitter handle.
Yeah, so the new Twitter handle is automatom. So it's underscore AUTOMATOM underscore.
All right, so he changed it, you guys. Automaton. You got to check him out. Of course, mine is at Victoria52, so you can definitely tap in with me all over social media that way. I'm on IG and Twitter. But Tom, so man, what's been going on? Are you excited, bro? This is draft week, bro. Like, we finally made it. It's here. You excited?
It's NFL offseason Christmas. Yeah, I'm excited, man. I can barely contain myself. Christmas has come early. Christmas has come early.
Early,
yeah, man.
Bro.
This is great. I can't wait, man. Thursday
let's
night.
Let's just jump into it, man. Look, I mean, so there's been all this talk. Hey, Cowboys gonna get a tight end. Cowboys gonna get a tight end. Cowboys gonna get a tight end. First of all, I think anybody who's saying that has never really watched this team play, right? If they ever watched the team play, they would know just because we lost Dalton Schultz don't mean we lost tight ends. Am I right?
Yeah, and I mean also, so I think something that people need to remember in terms, so like we're getting into the whole like, are we, aren't we, right? Like, are we going to draft a tight end? Seems like every mock now like has us getting like Michael Mayer, right? Like at 26, seems like every single one of them. And like Cowboys Nation is just divided right down the middle on this issue, right? There's going to be on Thursday night, half of Cowboy Nation is going to be very, very happy, and the other half is going to not be very happy. So I think one thing that's important to remember is that I think we pretty easily could have retained Dalton Schultz. So to me, that's evidence that I'll say this. I think it's evidence that they think a lot of Ferguson and Hendershot, and they think that they can do the job. I don't think that's 100% proof that they're not going after a tight end at 26. But I think that Dalton Schultz, was able to, fulfill that role competently, right? I mean, solid red zone target. I mean, we've been through it, right? Like not elite at the position, but he's good. He's a good little tight end. And they let him walk. It wasn't, and it was like what, 1 year, $8 million, something like that. Is that what it was? The Texans?
Yeah, I mean, actually we were offering more money than the Texans. He rode out. We wasn't really trying to get him. He wanted to leave the organization. To me, so here's the deal. To me, this is what I think, bro. Like, honestly, is Michael Mayer better than Peyton Hendershot or Jake Ferguson? You might say he's better than Hendy, but he's not better than Jake. And Jake proved it. In the time where Jake had to start, and he made big plays. He scored some touchdowns. You know what I'm saying? And then here's the other thing. Michael Mayer doesn't have separation. Like, watch the film. Watch the film. Boy ain't getting separation. Can you say that about Dalton Kincaid? Dalton Kincaid gets separation, but Dalton Kincaid's back. That's one of the things that has been there, but nobody's really paying attention to that. I'm not here trying to poke holes in those other players. All I'm saying is that we don't need a tight end. Not at 26. Should we take one in the draft? Absolutely. Yep. But not at 26.
Yeah, I think we need to take one, but not at 26. I think that, I mean, what did Jerry say today? He said that they have 15 to 20 guys with first round grades. Is that what they said?
Yeah.
I really think one of those guys is going to be at 26. And I don't think that means there's going to be a lot of, true second rounders that get taken before the Cowboys. It's just that, teams' boards look different, right? So you could have 25 guys get taken before that spot that are all first rounders on their respective teams' boards. But we're going to get somebody that we really like at 26, and I don't think it's going to be a tight end.
Yeah, I'm very confident at that. I don't know about the comment where Jerry said if they fall to us, they have warts. I don't know about that, Jerry, man. I don't get the warts thing, but hey, Jerry has a way of being creative, and I don't get it yet. But okay, all right, maybe when I get older, I will. Yeah. So as I'm looking at the draft, bro, and I'm looking at our draft board, and I'm saying to myself, okay, 26, what do we do? We've already explored the option. You and I both talked about moving up. And the reason why we talked about moving up, and I'm going to let you elaborate on this some more, is that, there's a 53-man roster. You know what I'm saying? And when you look at our roster put together as a whole, this thing's solid, man. I mean, it's solid. We've got guards. We picked up a guard from the Jets. What's his name?
Adoga.
Yeah, we picked up Adoga. Yeah. We picked up Adoga. So that's an extra guard. Walesko is going to play inside, right? So Walesko's playing inside. Adoga's playing inside. That's two, right? We still have Tyler Smith, who's probably going to start in the inside if everybody's healthy. We have Tyler Smith starting in the inside, and then you have Tyron Smith on the outside, and then you have Steele if he's healthy on the outside, right? So, and then you still have Ball. I don't really count Ball, but I'd like to roll him like a ball right on about the start. But it's cool.
You might get your wish.
Second, third round player. It is what it is. So, and then we don't even have to talk about who we got over there at the other guard. We know it's you know what I'm saying, all world, our guy,
reliability.
Yeah, Mr. Reliability. So we got him there, right? So, I mean, honestly, when we're talking about draft, we don't necessarily need to get a guard. We don't necessarily have to get a tackle. Remember, tackles in college make better guards. That's something that everybody who tells you in the draft, they'll tell you. If you're watching people in the draft, they'll tell you college tackles usually make great guards.
Now there are and I know this isn't. I know you're not saying all tackles can slide inside and play the position. You're just saying like a guy who has made a college career out of playing guard versus a guy at tackle who can also play guard. There's a lot of cases where those tackles sliding over have been very successful.
Our all-world.
Yeah, that's very true.
Our all-world guard came from Notre Dame, right?
Yeah. And was he playing left? Did he play left tackle in college? Or did he play right tackle
in college?
He played left tackle.
You're able to slide them in, and it works. It works.
Yeah, it's just that some of these guys. I mean, is it Paris Campbell? Is he like 6'7" or something like that? Like he's not sliding over playing guard. Like that's too tall.
Any tackle with long reach and long arms usually stay at tackle, right? Yeah. It's the guys who are tall that don't have long arms. They're better inside, right?
Yep.
And that's
considering. Yeah. No. Go ahead. I'm cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
Well, so what I was going to say is like considering. So it's like we know if we're healthy. Like let's just say Tyron's healthy, Terrence Steele ready week 1, week 2, whatever. Like we're healthy and we stay healthy the entire year. We know that like assuming Tyron just doesn't all of a sudden start playing, doesn't all of a sudden fall off the cliff, like we're going to have a good offensive line, right? And like whoever we draft, it's possible that they might not get a lot of playing time. If we draft at 26, and I'm not trying to make the case that, therefore we should not, draft there, but given that the best chance for a guard or tackle who's theoretically drafted at 26 to get on the field is for someone to get hurt, I kind of like the idea of that person being someone who's versatile and can play multiple spots. So like a Darnell Wright, like we've talked about it. You're hearing, if you're on Cowboys Twitter, you're seeing people talk about it. It's like he's, kind of being people who are mocking him to the Cowboys are sort of have him filling, a guard spot, right?
Right.
But like, I like the idea of, hey, this guy's played tackle in college too. So we have an injury or two, at the tackle spot, he can slide out and play tackle too. I mean, he's been doing it at Tennessee. That's another reason why I like Avila. It's like we're kind of in this spot where it's like if we're healthy, like we're pretty set. But if we're not healthy, then we need some help. But we don't really know: is it going to be at center? Is it going to be at guard? Is it going to be at tackle?
You need somebody who can play multiple positions.
Avila can play center and guard. Darnell Wright can play tackle and guard. Osiris Torrance, he's a pure guard. So like you draft him, like you're counting, like if Tyron goes down, like he's not sliding out to tackle. Maybe Tyler Smith sliding out. I don't even know necessarily that Tyler Smith isn't going to come out, at the tackle spot. But anyway, just versatile guys. Like I like the idea of if we're gonna grab one at 26 or 58, so getting PK, somebody with some versatility.
We have that one spot at the line position. We're set on a quarterback. We have. I would argue we have one spot at the wide receiver position, right? We have one spot at the tight end position. Flip the ball. We got one spot at the defensive line position, and we have one spot at the linebacker position. That's 5 players. Now, get this. Out of those 5, only 3 I think will make the 53-man roster. The others will be on the practice team. So here's the deal: moving up and losing some of our later round picks is a great idea if you're going to get your 3 guys, the 3 guys on your board, and you're going to get them. Hey, that's a great idea, because you would have literally 3 spots to fill, and if you fill those 3 spots, awesome. But if you move down and you get some more draft picks, now you have an opportunity. You may hit on one. You may say Yahtzee, hit on one, and the next thing you know, this is the greatest player since sliced bread. You know what I'm saying? And that may happen. But Tom, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking to myself, like, what do you do, man? Like, talk to me.
Yeah. So so here's the thing: is that nobody really likes the idea of So it's like most people have their eyes set, their sights set on like a player, 2 players in the first round that they just have completely fallen in love with. And like in most cases, they would be willing to give up, an extra 3rd or 4th rounder, like whatever, to like move up 4 spots, into the middle of the round or whatever, in order to take that guy. But like generally, you don't like the idea of giving up more picks for less picks, right? And like to piggyback on your point here is it's like our problem is that we've drafted really well in like the 5th and 6th round over the last few years, right?
Oh, and with the picks that we get at the end, like when we just bring people to the team, we get some of those. We pick up some of the best players. That's where we got Hendershot from.
I mean Hendershot's on the team, right? Yeah, absolutely. We've been finding guys all over the draft, and I'm not talking about finding all pros and and Pro Bowlers, like. But here's the thing: is like great teams. They've got you got to have a good quarterback, right? You got to have a couple of good skill position players. You probably got to have at least one really good pass rusher. You got to have somebody really good in the secondary. And like other than that, like there are some teams like Philly that are just like stacked everywhere. Then you have other teams just like they just have NFL players everywhere. And what I mean is it's just like they don't have anybody that you're just dying to replace, right? That it's just like that you look at that spot or that position group and just say, this is a serious, serious problem. And if we don't solve it, we can't compete. And like, there's a couple of spots like on the team that like we know we need to improve because like we're trying to win a Super Bowl. Like we're not trying to make the playoffs, right? Like we're trying to get a ring. But like we have NFL players all over the roster.
All over. And so we have a pick in every round, right? So we have 7 picks. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, right? We got 7 picks. We don't have 7 spots. We got 7 spots. I just counted them out. We got 5, but literally only have 3. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, like there's gonna be like Udoga. We just signed him, and people are like, all right, cool. Like we solved depth at guard, problem. He might not make the team. Like, do not be surprised if he doesn't make the team. We draft a guard, like it can happen. Like, that's a real possibility. There's gonna be guys that you're gonna say like, wow, like, he's not a star or anything, but like that guy contributes, like, and that's an NFL player that's gonna get cut. Like, it's gonna happen. And so I think that generally the calculus around, do we make this trade? Do we not, make this trade is like, there's, and every team's got their own math. Every team's got, different ways that they go about valuing, the 38th pick in the draft versus, the 10th pick in the draft, how much more valuable in this draft, like, is that pick? But so there's this trade, there's this draft pick value chart that I think Jimmy Johnson made in the early 90s, or, they were
wasn't Jimmy.
It wasn't Jimmy?
They attributed it to Jimmy, but it wasn't Jimmy. It was
whatever. His name's on it. As far as
Jimmy took credit for that, but I forget the guy's name. He was an insurance guy that Jimmy hired, and he came up with the chart. Gave it to Jimmy.
That always
Jimmy
how it works.
More than happy to take the credit for that. But go ahead.
The best you can do is just make your boss look like a genius. So if you see the Cowboys move up in some spot and you go and, refer to your little, NFL, draft trade value chart and say, well, this doesn't add up. Like, we're giving up too much. It's like, what we don't, that those some of those picks are later in the draft are less valuable to us because it's somebody that's, very good chance they won't make the team. So, like, why not, trade it in just to trade it to a team that it's worth more to. That's like, there are teams out there, they've got 40 NFL players, and like those 6 rounders, that's not as valuable as like a third. I'm not trying to make it out like it's this super valuable draft pick, but they're trying to fill up slots, and we're not, like, we're trying to get better. So
Miami doesn't have a first round. The 49ers and the Browns don't have picks until late in the third. So, there are people who would love to jump up and get extra picks, that would give assets to somebody that we can take and then use to give to somebody else to get a draft. So, there's some willing and dealing that's going to happen.
And now what I think is more likely to happen is not that they will move up in the first round, because I feel like a lot of the guys that like you would want to go get aren't really at positions of need. So that's like just a little less incentive to do it. It's like you're not really filling a hole. You're just kind of adding a talent, which is really tempting in and of itself. But it's like you wouldn't do that to go get a cornerback. You'd be surprised to see them do that, or to do that to go get an edge, rusher or a tackle, or a quarterback, So I would expect if they're going to do it, I would expect them to, give multiple picks to like move up in the second round, or to, trade a second and a third, to move up early in the second, or, trade the third and fourth to move up to earlier in the third, or like something like that. Anyway, be on the lookout for something like that.
Couple questions, and we're going to go through these lightning rounds. So my question is for you. First round, if our guys are not there, let's all agree. Let's agree on our guy. Let's agree on our big board guys. Quentin Johnson.
Yeah,
we can agree on that. Bijan Robinson.
Yeah,
okay.
I'm gun shy. I'm gun shy on the running backs, like in the first round. But like, we can't sit here and call him a generational talent and be like, no, I'd pass on him at 26. So I think you got to get him.
Okay. I know Drew Sanders is on our big board, but is he there for 26? Is that a person we would reach for at 26?
Oh my gosh. He's either somebody who you're going to deeply regret taking at 26, or you're going to deeply regret not taking at 26. I think it's just, he came out of high school as a 5-star athlete, right? I think he was playing defensive end at Alabama for 2 years.
Yeah.
Transfers to Arkansas, plays linebacker there for 1 year.
Lights out.
And you just watch his tape, and he's electric. This dude is electric. It's just he's gonna be that guy. If we get him at 26, he's gonna be that guy that you're like, one game you're like, oh my gosh, we got a star at 26, and the next game you're gonna be like scratching your head like, what is this dude doing? Like he's a project, and he's probably gonna be a project. This guy, he's gonna come in and make some plays. It's gonna be like a Roy Williams type dude that you're just like a couple times a game you're just like, whoa, but then just does some boneheaded stuff. So like, I don't know, what does that equate to? Does that mean he's worth taking at 26? Or I don't know, man. I'm not sure I would do it.
So those are big. Darnell. Is it Wright or Williams?
Darnell Wright.
From Tennessee. Yeah. Those are 4 guys. Those are guys. Big board guys for 26. Those guys aren't there. Should we trade back?
So I'm gonna throw you for a loop here because, sort of when the draft cycle first started, like what were we talking about? BPA, best player available. Like we're in a spot to do it. Like if the Cowboys aren't going to do it, then who would, right? And we got a roster full of NFL players, like, best player available. Man, I would take. And I mean, obviously, like there are other guys I like more in the first round, but just like somebody who I actually could see there at 26, and I would love to see them take is Deontay Banks, cornerback, Maryland. I just love this dude. He's tall. He's a freak athlete. He can play he can play in the slot easily, no problem. That's somebody I don't think I would pass up at 26.
But
so it's like
you got DaRon Bland, you got Jordan Lewis. Still ain't did nothing with Brown. You got what's the guy we just brought over from the Colts?
Stephon Gilmore.
Yeah, Gilmore, and then we got Diggs. So I mean, we drafting a cornerback first round.
Well, this is where. So if I was you and I thought like you do about DaRon Bland, then like, no, I'm not drafting Deontay Banks. But I'm me, and I think the things I think about DaRon Bland. So like, I think he's a good player. Like, I think he's a good player, but like, he's not gonna have 6 or 7 interceptions like next season. Like, I don't think. Like, I think that was a little bit of an outlier. Like, I do
now,
think
if he does, I need for you to apologize to DaRon Bland on the show. I need for you to apologize.
I will do it. Hey, and I'm a big DaRon Bland fan. Like, I don't think that was like we talked about this. Like, he covers well. He gets his head around. The dude is going to get interceptions in the league. But like, I mean, 7. Like, just the clip at which he was getting getting interceptions last season. Like, I don't see that happening again.
They got to go after somebody. Got to go after somebody.
That's true.
You got to go after somebody.
That's a good point. I like Deontay Banks. He's tall. He's physical. He's big.
And people, why y'all keep hearing us talk about tall? I'm gonna tell y'all why Tom is talking about tall. This is why Tom is talking about tall. If you're familiar with basketball and the zone defense, when you play zone defense, like Syracuse was long with Carmelo Anthony and Peter Ward, not Peter Ward, but Ward.
Hakeem.
They were really, really long, right? You had to throw the ball over, and the windows were tighter. So when you have long cornerbacks, why Dan Quinn loves long cornerbacks, that's why, because he makes you long cornerbacks, long linebackers, tall defensive tackles, and tall defensive ends. He loves it because it just makes it harder to throw over. When you got these little quarterbacks out here, you got to throw it in spots, and it's just super hard. So that was why he keeps talking about long. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, and this guy in particular, I mean, he could add 10, 15 pounds in the next 3 years and play safety, like no problem. I mean, the dude's physical, he's fast. He runs a 4.3. He's, I don't know, depending on where you look. Like I don't know what he measured at the combine. I think he's like 6'2", maybe, 200 pounds. He's a big kid. I like him a lot. I like him a lot better than Joey Porter Jr. A lot better.
I have to say I do too, but I can't say that around Steelers fans because
I know, man.
They love Joey Porter, so we gotta love his son. It's kind of like we gotta take Emmitt Smith's son when he come out. Like it's like you got to do it. Like I don't. Yeah, I no.
Yeah, I'll
So
just let them come to that conclusion themselves when he gets like 10 flags next year.
so my question is, can people, if we don't have our guy, do we draft back?
So is this is a question for me?
That's the question for you.
Yeah. So we're talking about how we just got done talking about how we can't really make use of like the picks that we have, right? Or it's just some of those later round picks aren't as valuable to a deep team, as they are to teams that this got spots to fill. So like the idea of trading back and accumulating picks, I would like to see us trade back and then maybe trade back up, or trade back in such a way where we're having to give up multiple to get multiple. And I'm not saying, hey, we're just looking to just give a pick away, but it's like, rather than, trading the 26th for, the 38th and the 70th, you trade the 26th for, you trade the 26 and 129, to, for 35 and what would that be? 60, 67, something like that, to move up, even just a couple of spots. And I'm sure that math doesn't really work out the way that I was saying it, but I guess it's just like, I don't want to do it in such a way where we accumulate, picks that we can't really make use of. But I just think if we get to 26, I don't want to draft a second round talent at 26. I don't want to do that. And I would suspect there's going to be 1, 2, maybe 3 teams that, have a first round grade on somebody who's available there to us, at 26, maybe a Will Anderson. I like the guy. I don't know if that's really a good, spot for us to take an edge rusher, or who's the guy out of Kansas State, Felix I can't think about it. Something
Kansas
difficult.
State guy.
Kansas State guy.
Kansas State guy.
Maybe there's a team in the second round that's got a first round grade on like one of those guys and wants to trade back up. I like the idea. I mean, obviously, I like the idea of doing that a lot better than I do taking a second rounder. At 26.
So let me ask you. Okay, all right. And my next question: what is they list our needs as running back, defensive tackle, offensive lineman, and running back, defensive tackle, wide receiver, and cornerback. That's what they list our needs as, right? That's the 4 things they list our needs. What is the most crucial thing for us to get in its and linebacker? What are the most crucial things for us to get in this draft, in your opinion?
It's hard to say. I think we're more wide receiver rich and linebacker poor, but you just can't have too many of them. Like there's not a team in the league that you look at and say they got a too many wide receiver problem. And like linebacker's just not really a premium position in the NFL. You can kind of make do without having, game breakers at that spot. And so while I do think that that's the weakest position group right now, and I mean, maybe Damone Clark comes out and, makes the leap, and, maybe LV has another healthy season, at middle linebacker, and maybe, is it Devin Harper? Is that the guy we haven't really seen very much of?
Yeah, Devin Harper.
Maybe one of these guys, kind of, turns into an NFL player, is contributing on the field. And maybe it's not as much of a problem, but the way it looks now is that that's quite a few ifs for this to not be a weak group. And so I don't really want to see them spend a premium pick on, on some guy unless it's like this
real too.
Yeah. It's like I would hate to see them spend a premium pick on a guy on a linebacker unless we were really sure that they were going to come in, and be great. But I do think that I would really love to see them get Drew. I would so love to see them get their hands on Drew Sanders. I like Drew Sanders. I like Trent Simpson, and I like Jack Campbell. All three of those guys. I know you like. I'm not sure how I'm pronouncing it correctly, but Dion Campbell, Washington State. He's just so small. He's like 220. He's like 225. I mean, that's.
But I don't like him over those guys that you mentioned.
Yeah. Okay.
I like him. He's a name that I would take if none of those guys are on the board. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But those three guys that you mentioned are the dogs in this draft.
If we got our hands on one of those guys so if we drafted one of those guys at 26, I would be going, oh my God, I hope this works out. If we got any of those three guys at 58, I'd be thrilled. I would be thrilled. That would be one of the picks that I would be more excited about than any other in this draft is if we got one of those three guys at 58. I don't think any of those three are going to fall to 58. And they're three very different players, but so I don't know if that really answers your question about the position group that I.
No, you just said the one we got to get is linebacker. So okay, and in my opinion, I think the one we got to get is receiver or running back. You know, the reason why I say that is we don't have Tony locked up for a long-term deal. Ronald Jones is not the answer either, right? Yeah. Malik Davis, I like, but you know, are we gonna put the franchise on Malik Davis back? Yeah, nah. And there's still a chance that we bring Zeke back, but I mean, still, you know, Zeke is not the Zeke of old, right?
But see, here's the thing. Here's the thing about that is that like this is the only argument that I have against. So like the argument right now is like, hey, we need a running back because Tony Pollard is on the franchise tag, right? And we're not going to tag him again next year and pay him, you know, $13 million or whatever it's going to be. Like, we're not going to pay that to a running back. So like, he's probably gone after this year, right? Unless, I mean, I want him in a Cowboy uniform, but I'm guessing he's going to ask for more money than we're going to want to pay him. You know, especially just coming off of that Zeke contract. You know, I think we're going to be a little gun shy when it comes to, you know, signing running backs to long-term, you know, lucrative deals. But so that's the argument, right? Is it's like Tony Pollard, he's going to be gone next year, so we need to hurry up and solve like the running back position. Well, here's what I say to that is that every year in the NFL draft, you can find running backs in the second, third, fourth round that can come in and be your bell cow day one. So I say, I'm not saying let's not draft a running back, but like I'm more comfortable waiting until pretty late in order to do that.
Well,
saying,
I get that.
Spend a fifth rounder. Yeah, go ahead.
I get that, but I'm just saying it's a position of need for us. I think it's a position of need. You said linebacker. I said running back and wide receiver.
But why is it a position? I don't understand why it's what. So it seems like there's two different ways to think about position of need. And it's like, there's a hole there right now. We need to fill it. Or two, there's not a hole there right now, but there's going to be one next year. And we need to go ahead. And that's what I'm
saying. That's where I'm at.
And so if somebody says a running back is a position of need, they're like that's because that's where I'm at too, where you are, which is like it's not one this year. Like we could get better there, but like that's not we got Tony Pollard, we got Ronald Jones, like we got guys. So yeah, I don't think that's not a pressing need to me.
And when I say wide receiver, I mean the same thing because you still got a whole bunch of people, you know, courting Dakota over there. You got Dennis Houston courting him. You got Simi Fioco. You know, you got what's my Jalen what's our third round receiver that we got last year?
Jalen Tolbert.
Jalen Tolbert.
Sorry, I'm so like into the draft right now. I hear Jalen and I'm like Jalen Hyatt. There's no other Jalen.
And you got Michael Gallup. Then you got CeeDee Lamb. So you got bodies, you know, but. You got studs, you know. I mean, that's why I'm looking at a Quentin Johnson because you put Quentin Johnson in a slot, brother. Whew. With CeeDee Lamb on the other slot, with Brandon Cooks on the other slot, Michael Gallup. I mean, Brandon Cooks on the outside, Michael Gallup on the outside. Hey, let's go. I mean, that looks nasty.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I just think that there's a pretty good chance. I know it sounds scary, but there's a pretty good chance either Michael Gallup is not going to, like, we're going to find out that the real Michael Gallup is closer to last season than pre-injury Michael Gallup. The chances are pretty high that we're either going to find that out, or like somebody's going to get hurt and we're going to be like, man, we got 2 receivers, and man, we should have drafted one. So wide receiver is absolutely a position in need. Absolutely. Quinn Johnston would be a good one. I'm really high on Zay Flowers. I'm like peak Zay Flowers, feelings like right now. I feel stronger about that being a good pick at 26 than I have up to this point. I'd be happy to see them nab him at 26 too.
Yeah, I like it. So we've already said that these are positions that we feel like need to be filled in the draft. To me, I just feel like I don't see us drafting I just don't see us drafting a tight end with 26, and that's the only thing that I don't see happening. But I gotta say this, man. I was listening to Steven in the press conference. It just feels to me that they're gonna make a business decision. I feel like they're gonna jump up to package to get their guy.
You think they're gonna move up in the first round?
I do.
You think so?
I do. I mean,
it wouldn't.
I think their guy is Bijan.
I love what Jerry said. We said we might move up, we might move down, we might stay put, right? Something like that. It made me think about this old stand-up comedian. He's since passed away. He had a joke. He was like talking about some rock band that he was in or something, and he was like, "You either loved us or you hated us, or you thought we were okay."
Well, that's
pretty much covered it.
Yeah, it pretty much covered it all. But the reason why I say that is Steven was saying, we don't know what Tony's going to be, after coming back from the injury. We don't know if we're going to keep Tony long term. We would like to, so he just made it sound like, hey, our guy is Bijan. And, of course, Bijan's been around the star training with Micah. I did the piece, what does it all mean? We could try to read into it and go.
You were trying so hard to manifest this. You were just trying so hard.
Really,
honestly, I can see it in his eye. They're going to trade up.
Honestly, if we didn't get Bijan, I'm cool as long as he don't go in our conference. If he doesn't go in the East, I'm good. I just don't want him going in the East. But the guy I really want is, and I gotta say it, either Darnell Wright or Quinn Johnson. Yeah. Cut the deck for me.
Which Darnell Wright is such a boring pick. Oh man, such a boring pick. But like, it's a good pick. It's a good pick. Yeah.
So all right, Lee, this is it before we get ready to get out of here and get on our parting shots. Knowing their history, knowing the Cowboys' history, do you think that there's a splash about to happen? A trade about to happen?
No, I don't think so. I think that there's definitely a history there, but I mean, it's been a while. Has it been since? When was the last splash? Morris Claiborne? I mean, was that the last splash?
Well, yeah, I mean, because Steven was saying that they've been blessed to have Tony and Dak, and most teams only move up for a draft pick when they need a quarterback, right?
Yeah.
So that's why that's there. That's the reason why that's there.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I don't see them doing it. I think there's just really only a couple guys that to me it's even conceivable, to see them trading up and getting, like maybe they, know that Quentin Johnston is like, I don't think that they're going to Quentin Johnston. That's not somebody that they're just not going to move up to 15 to get. I could see them, catch and win that Quentin Johnston's going at 25, and hopping up to 24 or something like that. You know what I mean? Like giving up. I don't know if a fourth rounder, would do that. If you could with a fourth rounder, like move up 2 or 3 spots, probably something like that. I could see that happening. I could see. I could see them jumping up for Bijan, but like I don't think they're gonna. I think that's another situation like where I couldn't see them. I couldn't see them jumping up super high in the draft because I mean, like even to get to 15, like you're gonna have to give up. Like that's gonna take a third rounder, in order to do that.
I mean, you can go 1, 2. You can go 1, 2, 2. You can go 1, 2 this year and then 2 in next year's draft, and you got it.
That's a lot. So you're saying you're giving up 26 and you're giving up 58 and then a second rounder next year. So basically, like I think the way teams think about this is like a second rounder next year is the same thing as a third rounder this year. Like it's not the exact same thing, but I think they generally like think about them as being around.
We would have to give up a 1, 2, 3 in this draft to get up to a 9 to get Bijan. You know what I'm saying? And
they're just not gonna. I don't think they're doing anything like that, right?
No, I don't see them mortgaging the farm like that. I don't see them mortgaging the farm.
And everybody else, I mean, it's like
I do see them making a splash this year. Answering my question, I see them making a splash this year, and I'm talking about what you just said, moving up 3 spots. Moving up 2, 3 spots to get their guy. You know what I mean? And I see
that's the only thing I see happening. That's the only thing I see happening because everybody else is like quarterback, it's tackle, it's cornerback, and like those aren't holes that we need to fill. So I just don't see them. I don't see them doing that. So I think it's like what you're saying. I can see them moving up, but it's going to be 2, 3, 4 spots. Max.
Yeah, it's not going to be 9, 10. I mean, it is what it is. Hey, Bijan goes to 10. If he goes to the Eagles at 10. Which I really don't think that's going to happen. I could see him going to the Commanders before I saw him going to the Eagles. But if he went to the Eagles at 10, I would be, hey, it just is what it is. They took him. You know what I'm saying? We going to beat them. We're not going to sit here and cry about it. We're just going to fortify ourselves to beat them. So here's the last thing, Tonton, and then we need to definitely get on our parting shots. Last thing, who do you think is going to be the biggest guy that falls? Like who you think? Because there's gonna be somebody who falls. It's gonna be somebody who falls.
Yeah.
Who do you think that guy's gonna be?
To me, that's an easy answer, and it's not easy because I think it's a guarantee that he's going to fall. But Tyree Wilson, I think I've seen tons of mocks that have him going top, 6, 7, in the draft. That's, I think I've seen a couple of him going top 5, and tons where he's going top 10. And I mean, he just looks like a 3-4 defensive end, like a good one, but a 3-4 defensive end. And, he's sort of masquerading as no hate, on Tyree Wilson. Like, I think he's going to be a good football player, but you don't draft 3-4 defensive ends. And I mean, he looks like a 5 technique to me. He doesn't look like an edge, he's a bull rusher. He does not have, a quick first step. I see him as being somebody who, could get a fair number of pressures from that end position, but he doesn't really. You gotta have a ton of bends. You gotta be able to, you gotta be able to finish, and I don't really see him, as a finisher from the edge. And I'm just guessing that others that scouts are seeing some similar things of what I'm seeing. I look at him and I mean he's like 6'6", 280, something like that. Like he just doesn't really seem like he's got the tools that you typically see at a premium premium edge prospect. So I could see him falling into the 20s. That wouldn't shock me.
I was looking at it, and I think everybody is super high on Zay now. Zay is the Flowers. Zay Flowers. He is the flavor of the month, and I think Jackson has always been everybody's number one receiver. So I think Quentin is going to be the odd man out. I think Quentin is going to be the one that drops. And if he dropped down here and we put a star on that man's helmet, y'all are in trouble. Rest of the league is in trouble. Just is what it is. But I love it. I love it. I love it, man. Let's give it to me, man. Give me your parting shots.
Yeah. So I was over the last few days lamenting the fact that I missed the last podcast, where you got into it and talked about Dak. So I just want to get in a quick one. And this is my Big G burner for those of you who know about the Know It Alls podcast. Big G on there, and he's always got these crazy takes, and we call them Big G burners. My Big G burner is Dak will get MVP votes this year. I'm not saying he's gonna be the MVP, and I'll put it this way. There will be halfway through the season, he'll be in the MVP conversation. He'll be top 5 in MVP odds.
I like
and
it.
That's my
I like
shot.
It. Talk spicy.
This dude's got receivers now. We've seen. All right, mini rant, real quick, and so I'm gonna keep it short. I've said it before. This past season, he did not have any receivers. He had one receiver. Previous 3 seasons, he averages over 300 yards passing a game. That is elite production, and he's in the MVP conversation in those years. In particular, the year whenever he got hurt. Was that like 6 games into the season or something like that? 5 games into the season? I know that's early. That's a third of the way through the season. Like, guys fall off. But I'm not saying he's not Patrick Mahomes. But it's like you even look at his playoff numbers versus a guy like Joe Burrow, who it's just like, widely considered to be just this incredibly, clutch, quarterback. Their numbers are pretty much identical in the playoffs. It's like these different narratives and stories that we tell ourselves. Dak is in that spotlight. Everybody knows. Week to week, we're big NFL fans. You might not know what the Los Angeles Rams did that weekend, or the Browns. You didn't watch the Browns game. And you didn't catch the highlights. You don't know what happened in that game. Every NFL fan knows what happened in the Cowboy game, whether Dak threw a pick, whether they, were ahead and coughed it up, right? And whether it was Dak's fault. Everybody knows that. That is the most difficult job in sports, is a quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, and everybody knows when you make a mistake. Dak is not Pat Mahomes, but he is a really good quarterback. Really good quarterback. Top 6, 7, easily. Easy. That's his floor.
Easy. Well, again, you're talking spicy, you're talking saucy. And guess what? I agree. I totally agree with you, man. I totally agree. My parting shot, and I'm gonna keep this brief, is as we're getting ready for the NFL draft, I'm reminded that if you want to be good at something, you got to put in the time. You can't want to be good at something. You have to work to be good at something. It takes 10,000 hours for you to actually be a professional at something. So, a lot of these kids and young men, their dream was to make it to the league. There was a lot of people that came around them that helped them to get there. I'm just telling you, one of the things that I would tell you guys that's listening to the podcast, make sure your core is good. Make sure your team is good, because you're only going to go as far as the people around you is going to be able to take you. It's not just talent is never enough. Talent is never enough. Character and hard work are a part of it, man. So if you're a young kid, you're out there, you're listening to the podcast, make sure that you're doing your due diligence, you're working, but also look at the people you hang around. Watch out for the people you hang around, because those people can take you, how they can take you low. And if you look at, I say this all the time, Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player to ever play it. But LeBron James is one of the greatest men that I've ever seen in sporting events and in a sport ever. He brought his friend group from high school are all millionaires because he brought them with him. He put them through school. He made sure that they had, you know what I'm saying? And they insulate him. They keep him safe. You know what I'm saying? Those are things that you have to look at. So watch your friend group. You know what I'm saying? Bad company corrupts good character. It always happens, man. This is your boy Maud, man.
Amen.
This is
Amen.
Tom. I'm telling you guys, man, look, we are stoked for this draft, man. I'm telling you, we are stoked. We're here at the Cowboys Global Cast, FFSN. Definitely, you subscribe to this podcast. Get it wherever you get all of your audio podcasts, Stitcher, iTunes, of course, Apple Music, Google Play, all of those places you can find us. Amazon, we're there, man. Make sure you get in with us, man. And for myself and for Tom, we like to thank you guys for hanging out with us and giving us the time of day. And man, go Cowboys. We'll talk to you on the other side of the draft. Peace.